Hello and welcome back to The Deep Dive. It is Tuesday, January 20, 2026.
Great to be here.
If you're just joining us, get comfortable. Maybe grab a notebook or, let's be honest, just keep doing whatever it is you were already doing. We're just glad you're here.
And today we have a topic that I think is going to hit, well, a little too close to home for a lot of people.
Oh, definitely.
Myself included, if I'm being totally honest.
Absolutely. We are diving into a stack of research today that deals with the one thing that haunts every single to-do list, every New Year's resolution, and every student during finals week. We are talking about procrastination.
The art of delaying the inevitable.
Exactly. And I have to ask you, the listener, right off the bat, and be honest with yourself here, are you listening to this deep dive right now specifically to avoid doing something else?
You know, are you suddenly cleaning the kitchen because you don't want to start that presentation?
Or organizing your desktop files instead of studying for an exam?
If you are, we see you.
We see you. And frankly, I respect the hustle. But the good news is, listening to this might actually be the most productive form of procrastination you've ever engaged in. Because today, we're going to figure out why you're doing that.
And how to stop.
To do that, we are analyzing a really fantastic script from a podcast called TalkSmarterToday, specifically their episode number 043.
It's a great piece of source material because it features a panel that basically represents all the different voices inside our own heads when we're procrastinating.
It's a great setup. You have the host, Sarah, keeping things moving.
Then you have Dr. Aris, a psychologist who brings in all the, the heavy scientific context.
You've got Emily, a productivity expert. And then you have Tom.
Tom.
I love Tom.
Tom is the best character. He's the average guy, but really he is the avatar for the procrastinator in all of us. He is that part of your brain that just wants to watch TV.
He really is. So our mission today is to take this conversation, the science from Dr. Aris, the strategy from Emily, and the very real struggle of Tom, and just distill it into a toolkit. We want to understand the root cause of why we wait until the last minute.
And then give you the actual keys to break the cycle. And the first step is completely changing how you define the problem.
Right.
Because most people start with a fundamental misunderstanding of what procrastination actually is.
Let's jump right into that. The source material opens with Tom sharing this anecdote that made me laugh, but also, made me wince because it was so relatable. He admits that he intended to write his notes for the episode the day before. He had the time, he had the coffee, he was ready to go.
And instead of writing notes...
He watched 3 hours of cat videos.
3 hours?
Yeah.
That is a solid block of time. That's a commitment.
It's the classic rabbit hole. And usually when we do something like that, when we lose an afternoon to YouTube, what's the first thing we tell ourselves? We say, I am so lazy.
I have no discipline.
Right.
I'm such a slacker.
But Dr. Aris, the psychologist in our source material, she stops the panel right there. And this is the first big takeaway for you. Procrastination is not laziness.
This is such a crucial distinction. We tend to use the words interchangeably, but psychologically they are completely different states.
Okay, unpack that. Because if I'm lying on the couch watching a kitten fall off a table for the 50th time instead of working, it sure feels like laziness.
It looks the same from the outside, but the internal experience is the opposite. Laziness implies apathy. If you're lazy, you simply don't want to do the work, and here's the kicker. You're fine with it.
You're okay with it.
You're relaxing. You aren't stressed about it.
So a lazy person is actually enjoying their leisure time.
Exactly. Procrastination, on the other hand, is an act of conflict. You want to do the work. You know you should be doing the work. You might even be desperate to get it done.
But you just can't start.
You can't start. You aren't enjoying the cat videos. You're using them to numb a sense of panic.
That is a huge shift in perspective. Laziness is, I don't care. Procrastination is, I care so much it hurts, but I'm paralyzed.
Precisely. And Dr. Aris defines procrastination not as a time management problem, which is how we usually treat it.
Right, buy a new planner.
But as an emotion regulation problem.
Emotion regulation. So we aren't fighting the clock, we are fighting our own feelings.
Yes. Think about the task Tom was avoiding, writing notes. To you or me, that might sound neutral. But to Tom, in that moment, that task was a trigger for negative emotions.
Like what?
Maybe he was afraid he wouldn't do a good job. Maybe he felt overwhelmed by how much he had to write. Maybe he was just bored.
So the task itself makes him feel bad.
Right. It causes anxiety or stress. And the brain, specifically the ancient part of the brain that just wants to keep you safe, hates that feeling. It views that anxiety as a threat, so it screams, "Get away from this. Do something that makes us feel good right now."
And that's where the cat videos come in.
It's what psychologists call immediate gratification.
Or mood repair.
Mood repair. You feel bad thinking about the work, so you switch to something that gives you a quick hit of dopamine to soothe that bad feeling.
So Tom wasn't being a slacker. He was, self-medicating his anxiety about the work.
Exactly. He was regulating his emotions the only way his brain knew how in that moment, by avoiding the thing causing the stress.
That actually makes me feel a lot more compassionate toward my own procrastination habits.
It should.
It's not a character flaw. It's a biological mechanism that's just gone wrong.
It is. But knowing that is only half the battle. Because the source material goes deeper, it's not just about anxiety in general. Emily, the productivity expert on the panel, she brought up a specific personality trait that fuels procrastination, and it's one that really surprised me.
Oh, this is the perfectionism paradox.
Nice.
Because usually when we think of a procrastinator, we think of the messy, disorganized person.
Right.
And when we think of a perfectionist, we think of the person with the color-coded binder who finishes everything a week early.
That's the stereotype. But Emily argues that perfectionism is actually one of the biggest drivers of procrastination.
How does that even work? Why would wanting things to be perfect make you wait until the last minute?
It all comes back to that fear we were talking about. For a perfectionist, the stakes are incredibly high. They don't just want to do the task, they want to do it flawlessly.
Which puts a massive amount of pressure on the simple act of starting.
Exactly. I mean, if you need the output to be perfect, the idea of sitting down and producing a messy first draft is terrifying. It just clashes with your identity.
So they freeze up.
They freeze. But there is another layer to it, which is even more fascinating. It's a defense mechanism called self-handicapping.
Self-handicapping. That sounds counterproductive.
It is, but it protects the ego. Think about it. If a perfectionist starts a project weeks in advance, tries their absolute hardest, puts in 100% effort, and the final result is just okay.
Oh, that'd be devastating.
Devastating. It would mean they just aren't as good as they thought they were. It confirms their worst fear. I am not good enough.
But if they procrastinate, if they wait until the night before and they have to rush through it,
Then they have an excuse.
bingo.
If the work is bad, they can say, well, of course it's bad. I only had 4 hours. I didn't have enough time. They didn't fail because they lacked ability. They failed because of the clock.
Wow. So procrastination creates a scenario where you can never truly be judged on your ability because you never gave yourself a fair shot.
You're protecting your ego from the risk of failure.
Exactly. And this leads to that state Tom mentioned in the script, analysis paralysis.
I feel like I have a PhD in analysis paralysis.
Don't we all? That's when you get stuck in a planning phase, right?
Yeah, you research, you organize, you look for the perfect software tool, you read 5 books on the topic.
But you never actually do the thing.
Never do the thing.
But it feels like work. That's the trap. I can spend 4 hours researching how to write a novel and feel very productive, but I haven't written a single word.
That is the definition of analysis paralysis. You are overthinking to avoid the risk of doing. You're staying in the safe zone of theory, not the dangerous zone of practice.
Okay, so we have a diagnosis. We know it's emotional regulation, not laziness. We know perfectionism and ego protection are driving the bus.
And we know we get stuck in analysis.
So now we need to get to the solution. The source material offers some really specific, actionable tools to break this paralysis.
It does. And the first strategy is probably the most famous one, but Emily explains why it works so well. It involves eating amphibians.
Eat the frog.
Eat the frog.
I remember when I first heard this, I was as confused as Tom was in the script. I thought it was some weird diet thing.
Fortunately, no. It's a metaphor attributed to Mark Twain. The quote is something like, if it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning.
And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, eat the biggest one first.
That's the one.
It's a gross image, but it really sticks with you. So in this context, the frog is the task you are dreading the most.
Correct. The frog is that phone call you don't want to make.
Or the spreadsheet you're terrified of messing up.
Or the hard conversation you've been putting off.
And the strategy is to do that thing immediately when you start your day. Before email, before meetings, maybe even before your second coffee.
And why do you think the timing matters so much? Why not at 4 p.m.?
I'm guessing it has to do with energy, willpower.
It's about mental bandwidth and decision fatigue. In the morning, your willpower tank is full, your brain is fresh. But there is also the emotional weight of it.
The dread factor.
Exactly. If you know you have to eat a live frog at 5 p.m., how is your day going to go?
It's going to be terrible. I'm going to be thinking about that frog all day. It's just going to be hanging over my head.
It ruins the easy tasks because you're anticipating the hard one. You're draining your battery just worrying about it. But if you eat the frog at 9 a.m.
It's done. The worst part of the day is over.
and you get this massive surge of relief and dopamine, you feel like a conqueror. That momentum carries you through the rest of the day, making everything else seem easy by comparison.
So, to you listening, identify your frog. Don't look at your whole to-do list. Just find the one thing that makes your stomach turn.
And serve it up for breakfast, metaphorically.
Metaphorically, please.
Yeah.
But here's the problem, and the source material addresses this via Dr. Aris. What if the frog is just too big? What if I look at that task and I just freeze? Like write a dissertation. I can't just do that before breakfast.
That is a very real issue. When the task feels massive, the friction to start is overwhelming. The eating the frog advice can backfire because the frog is the size of a dinosaur.
So what do we do then?
Dr. Aris suggests a psychological hack called the 5-minute rule.
This is my favorite tip from the whole script. It sounds like a trick, and it is, but it absolutely works.
It's a negotiation with your brain's fear center. The idea is simple. You tell yourself, I am not going to finish this project. I'm not even going to try to make good progress.
I am just going to do this for 5 minutes.
That's it. If I want to stop after 5 minutes, I am allowed to stop.
You're lowering the stakes so low. 5 minutes isn't scary. Anyone can do 5 minutes.
Exactly. It bypasses that fight or flight response in the amygdala. The mountain becomes a molehill. But here's the secret, and I think you know where this is going. Do people actually stop after 5 minutes?
I'm going to guess almost never.
Almost never. Dr. Aris explains that the hardest part of any task is the activation energy.
It's the friction of starting.
Getting the rocket off the launch pad, the anticipation of the work is actually worse than the work itself.
100%. We build it up in our heads to be this awful torture session. But once you trick yourself into starting with the 5-minute rule, you realize, oh, this isn't that bad.
And you break the seal. Once you're moving, it's easier to keep moving. The anxiety just evaporates because you're in action mode.
That's so true.
And suddenly you've been working for an hour.
So the 5-minute rule is basically giving yourself permission to do a bad job for just a few minutes, just to get the gears turning.
Whatever it takes to overcome the inertia.
I love that. And there was one more tactical tool Emily mentioned that fits right in with this, the Pomodoro Technique.
A classic. Tom, the character in the script, really liked this one because it appealed to his short attention span.
For those who haven't used it, give us the quick rundown.
It's a time blocking method. You set a timer for 25 minutes. During that time, you do deep work. No phone, no tabs, no distractions, just the task.
And then?
Then, when the timer dings, you take a mandatory 5-minute break.
Why does this work so well for procrastinators specifically?
Well, for one, it gamifies the process. Can I get this paragraph done before the timer goes off? It adds a sense of urgency that focuses the brain.
And it also makes the suffering feel temporary.
That's the key. Tom mentioned that 25 minutes is shorter than a TV show. It feels manageable. If I tell you write for 4 hours, you'll panic. If I tell you write for 25 minutes and then you can check Instagram, that feels doable.
It creates a rhythm. Sprint, rest, sprint, rest. It prevents burnout.
Exactly. So between eating the frog, the 5-minute rule, and Pomodoros, you have a toolkit to hack that initial resistance.
But there's one final piece of the puzzle. And honestly, I think this might be the most important part of the entire deep dive. It's not about time management. It's about how we treat ourselves after we've messed up.
This is the emotional core of the issue. This is where Dr. Aris really brought it home in the source material. We talked about how Tom felt guilty about the cat videos.
Right. And most of us think guilt is a useful emotion. We think, if I beat myself up enough about wasting time yesterday, I'll be so ashamed that I'll work harder today.
The tough love theory. But psychology tells us that it backfires completely. This is what's known as the cycle of guilt.
How does that cycle work?
Okay, follow the logic. You procrastinate, you feel guilty. Guilt is a negative high-stress emotion. It makes you feel bad about yourself.
Yeah.
Now, remember what causes procrastination.
It's an emotional regulation problem. We procrastinate to escape negative feelings.
Exactly. So if you heap guilt on top of your stress, you are just creating more negative feelings that your brain will want to escape from.
Wow. So feeling guilty about procrastination actually triggers more procrastination.
It feeds the beast. You feel bad, so you seek distraction to feel better, which makes you procrastinate more, which makes you feel more guilty, which makes you feel worse. And round you go.
That explains so much about those weeks where you just can't seem to get out of a rut. You're just drowning in shame.
It's a self-perpetuating spiral. And the only way to break it, according to Dr. Aris, is self-compassion.
Forgiveness.
You have to forgive yourself. You have to look at yesterday and say, okay, I messed up. I watched the videos. I didn't get the report done. That is human. That is in the past. Today is a clean slate.
That feels so counterintuitive. It feels like letting yourself off the hook.
It's not letting yourself off the hook for the work. It's clearing the emotional debt. If you don't clear the debt, you keep paying interest on it with more distraction.
So being kind to yourself isn't soft. It's actually a productivity strategy.
It is the most productive thing you can do. There was a study Dr. Aris alluded to with university students. The students who forgave themselves for procrastinating on the first exam actually studied more for the second exam.
More than the ones who were hard on themselves.
Much more, because they weren't wasting energy on shame.
We need to put that on a billboard. Be kind to yourself. It's productive.
I'd buy that billboard.
So we have covered a huge amount of ground today. Let's try to bundle this up into a usable toolkit for you, the listener, who might be staring at a deadline right now and sweating.
Let's do it.
Step 1, the mindset shift. Stop calling yourself lazy.
Yeah.
You aren't lazy. You are having an emotional reaction to a task that scares you.
Step 2, watch out for that perfectionism trap. Remind yourself that a messy first draft is better than a perfect blank page. Don't let your ego trick you into self-handicapping.
Step 3, the strategy. Eat the frog. Identify the scariest thing on your list and do it first before your decision battery drains.
Step 4, and if the frog is too big, use the friction hacks. The 5-minute rule. Lie to your brain just enough to get started, or use Pomodoros to break the time into gamified chunks.
And finally, step 5, forgive the past. Don't carry the guilt of yesterday into today. It is too heavy, and it will only slow you down.
That is a solid battle plan against the procrastination beast.
It really is. It takes the mystery out of the behavior.
Yeah.
We aren't broken. We just need better operating instructions for our brains.
Right. And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on, something to take with you into the rest of your week.
What's that?
We talked about how procrastination is often a defense mechanism, a way to protect your ego from judgment or failure. That if I don't try, I can't really fail logic.
Right.
So if you are stalling on something right now, ask yourself this. What specific judgment are you actually afraid of? Who is the imaginary critic in your head? And is protecting yourself from that imaginary judgment actually costing you your real-world potential?
That's a heavy hitter to end on. Is the safety of the cave worth the cost of never climbing the mountain?
That's the question only you can answer.
Well, on that note, we want to thank you for spending part of your Tuesday with us. Hopefully this helps you tackle whatever mountain or molehill is in front of you.
Go eat that frog.
Metaphorically. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.